It's obvious there's a cover-up going on.
I mean, I know fraud. It feels like fraud. Scraping this, scrubbing this.
He's a philanthropist. He's curing blind people. He's building wells in Africa. Even the philanthropy work is all bull.
All they need is two other guys to get on the stand and say, nah, he knew, we had a conversation about it. Even if they never did. You're doing something that makes you appear guilty, probably because you are guilty in some way.
I mean, listen, basically, Jimmy's lifelong friend up his whole operation. I think he was in a position in the beginning where, you know, because of the atmosphere of the environment we live in this country, where you can't say anything even remotely bad about the LGBTQ community.
Don't get me shadow man.
Or else you get completely destroyed online.
Right.
Your career's over, your life's over. You know, you can't get on a public bus, you can't take a cab anymore. They take away your birthday. It's all over with.
He has to do the right thing.
So in the beginning, he was like, "Oh, I have nothing but support for my friend. If he wants to transition, I'm here to because you know." Whether he felt that way or not, that's what you have to do publicly. Yeah.
That may be true.
And it probably is true because, like you said, they've been friends since the very beginning. Chris Tyson started Mrbeast with him. And, you know, I'm sure they're friends. Yeah. You know, but it was like...
you don't know how... at that moment, he didn't know how far this is going to go.
Right. Now, at that moment... see, that's the controversy is we don't know how much he knew in the beginning. Did he know about, you know, all of the allegations that Chris was on... the Discord servers, you know, talking to underage kids about sexual content that is wildly inappropriate. Right. You know, and that I think is the very first, that's where it all started. That's where the timeline starts is the Discord server. Well, actually it's the transitioning. That was like the big, what the f is going on here? Right. You know, I mean, you have a kid family, you have a friendly family kid show where you know, all of your content is geared towards children and towards minors. And one of the main casts decides to switch his gender right in the middle of an operation. Okay, that in itself, right there, if nothing else came out, that in itself is enough controversy to tank the show. And then all of the beans just started spilling out of the jar, and as you know, the proverbial beans start spilling out of the jar, and it's just layers and layers and layers now, like an onion. And the deeper we go, the more crap we find out about, you know. Employees being underpaid, people being mistreated, multiple offenders being employed by Mrbeast, unsafe work environment, just all kinds of crazy shit's coming out now.
Fake? Did you just say faking the results or faking the?
I didn't, but that's another you know, another big thing is all the videos are apparently fake. All of the challenges are BS. He had friends of his that were supposedly you know, random people that were participating in the challenges, and he would just let them win and give them money. Like, there's CGI being used. I mean, it's all fake. It was all BS. It's all just for views, clicks, and money. Whereas in the beginning, everybody thought that this was all genuine, that Jimmy is a philanthropist. You know, he's doing all these great things for the world. He's building wells in Africa. He's building, he literally was.
That's not true.
He literally is building wells. And I mean, I'm sure he did. I'm sure he helped a lot of people with the philanthropy work, but if you look into the philanthropy work a little bit deeper, there's even controversy there. And we can get into that a little bit later if you'd like.
All right. So it's really just a PVC pipe 4 feet in the ground.
Connected to a water jug and a pump.
They connected to a spigot. They got a hose that's dug, and it's, look how wonderful. And they're filling up jugs. Yeah. And then they leave, and it's, you know. So, well, first of all, how do you not know that your buddy's gay or is transgender, or how do you like suddenly this just happens? Like this is something he's had to have known about. Like, I mean, your buddy, you're not hanging out with your buddy.
Well, he started painting his fingernails before he went full transition. Like, if you go back and watch videos from like a year, 2-3 years ago, he started painting his fingernails. He started growing his hair out longer.
Hey, he's wearing dresses.
His speech got he started talking a little bit more feminine. Like, but when Mrbeast first started, he was a manly man. Right. He had a wife, a kid, you know, a wife, kids, a family. You know, he had a beard. He was, you know.
Yeah, he was a guy's guy. And now, and then slowly.
Well, he went the opposite direction. Decided to play for the other team, which is fine. You know, I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. I'm not saying anything's wrong with that.
Please don't give me shadow.
If you have the balls to become a woman, you know, then I tip my hat to you, sir. But I know, but that's where it all started. That's where all of the controversy.
Did he get a surgery, or
no?
Do we not know?
He's pre-op. I think is the correct terminology. Yeah, he's pre-op.
So he's pre-op, and he's you know, he's exploring himself in this newfound situation.
The 2 channels that broke the news, one has like 800 subscribers to this day, and has like 2,000 subscribers. They got 50,000 views. It's like this kid sitting in a park that's like been doing all this research on like the Chris Tyson situation, and somehow, and he knew about this guy who had been, quote unquote, groomed in the Discord. This guy, Twitter name's Lava. They set up a interview for an editing job and got this guy on the interview for the editing job, and that's how they got like the first information to make this video. Is like this guy thought he was doing an interview for editing YouTube. And like, oh yeah, we heard you work for Mrbeast. And this guy basically says that, yeah, this guy was hiring for editing, but we were interviewing him to get information. And then they kind of got all that information, that started that initial spark. And that's when the guy backed Chris Tyson. And he's like, no, like I wasn't groomed, all this kind of stuff.
They tried to minimize it. They tried to minimize it and clean it all up. Like, oh, I just made a couple off-colored jokes that may have been inappropriate. When really it was way deeper than that.
Yeah, because there was no chats at first, and they're like, oh, like he didn't do anything, like it's fine. And Chris gets on Twitter. He's like, yeah, like this guy's saying nothing happened. And then like a day later, someone came out from the Discord. Was like, I have all the chat logs, and dropped all the chat logs. And the guy immediately doubled back. He's like, I didn't remember all this. These things were inappropriate. These things were wrong. And then there's a whole separate situation with Chris where he has like openly supports I think they call it lolly artist.
This artist, he's known, his main, what he draws is pretty much CP.
Okay.
This artist was beefing with somebody else online, some kind of online beef, some kind of troll beef or whatever. The artist went on the dude's social media profile, found his children, took his children and drew his children in like sexual, disgusting
positions.
So that just goes, that's the kind of character of the individual that now Chris Tyson, he bought a poster from this artist and said that, I love this artist, I love his work. This is going to be the centerpiece of our living room. And they put the poster on the living room wall in the apartment that he was living with Jimmy.
Right.
Now,
and there's photos of him looking at the pictures. All of the old
videos that Jimmy made sitting in his kitchen, you could see the poster on the wall in the background.
Right.
They went back and they scrubbed all of that.
I saw that. It's all white with like a big it's all white now, right?
They went back and they either cut out all the parts of Jimmy being in front of that poster, or they cut the poster out in post.
I've seen screenshots of him standing next to him, looking at the poster, staring at the poster, being next to the poster. So they didn't do a great job because there's a bunch of screenshots. Yeah. Somebody screenshotted the shit out of him.
So that's controversy in and itself. Now, I know he's been going back and he's been deleting negative comments from all the videos. Now, I know you can set YouTube to do that automatically. Just look for certain keywords, and if the keywords pop up, they just take the comment off automatically. Now, they went back on, I don't know if it's the Wayback Machine or what they're using to kind of scrub all of Mrbeast's posts and videos, but they can go back, and they were going back and showing like this video used to be 15 minutes long.
Right.
It's now 12.
Right.
This video used to be 17 minutes long. It's now 13.
How is that? Is that possible to clip a chunk out?
There are like there are websites dedicating to like preserving internet history. I think they take kind of like a still shot of
there's Wayback Machine. I know is one of them.
Where it's like a still shot of this day, everything that was up this day.
Right.
And then you can kind of go back and look at the
YouTube. Can you go back and edit your videos without taking them down?
Yeah.
Without having to re-upload them?
Say I uploaded this video and we uploaded like a minute where we wanted to cut out after it's uploaded. I could go in there and cut it out. 2 hours would be gone.
Yeah,
so
that's essentially that's what Mrbeast has been doing to all of his videos. They've been going back and they've been just cutting out anything that can be used as fuel for the fire for all of these new controversies that are coming up. Yeah.
Well, that's conscious of guilt. You know what I'm saying? Like if you just said, I haven't done anything wrong, you can look at everything I did, I could justify everything. But if you start going and actively you're basically removing evidence that paints you in a bad light.
And they have proof he's been doing it.
Right. That's conscious of guilt. That's you're doing something that makes you appear guilty, probably because you are guilty in some way. What's funny is that the communicating with the 13-year-old kid, right? Because I think he was 13. Mm-hmm. It's inappropriate. Whatever was being said was extremely inappropriate. Let's say it was completely appropriate, but you knew the kid was 13. Mary Shelley's friends have stopped by. She has a guy friend who thinks I'm super cool, right? Like I got a YouTube channel, you know, he's a kid.
Yeah.
And he's 16 years old. And he came by a few months ago, had gotten a new car. He was like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, hey, Mary is not here. And he's like, hey, he said, well, I got a new car. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And you could tell he kind of wanted me to come out and look at the car. I was like, okay. I was like, well, yeah, she's not here, bro. I said, I'm kind of doing stuff.
Yeah.
I wasn't really doing anything. And I was just,
I hear you. I have no desire whatsoever to interact with children.
You could tell
unless
that
I have to.
He definitely was bored and lonely and wanted to come in. If I'd said, hey, you want to come in and talk for, you know, because you could tell he wanted to come in.
Yeah.
It was almost that kind of like he's ready to walk in and I'm standing in front of the door.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, I'll tell you came by, cooled the car. That's great. But all I could think of was she's not here. Your friend's not here. You need to go.
Yeah.
And I'm not, and this kid's like 16 years old. I'm not hanging out with you with a 16-year-old or a 15-year-old, a 14, damn sure not hanging out with a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
We're not going to be sitting on the couch. We're not going to be watching a movie. We're not going to be hanging out.
None of that.
Unless there's another adult present. Not interested.
None of that.
There's no common ground. There's nothing to talk about.
I hear you.
So I don't know why you would think it was okay to be interacting with that kid, because I guarantee his father would be like, what are you doing talking to my 13-year-old son?
Right.
Like, I don't care if it's sexual or not. What are you doing? And truly, you're a gay guy talking to a 13-year-old boy about sexual content. That'll get you shot. You know what I'm saying? Like, that'll get you f***ed up.
Yeah.
Like, you know it's inappropriate.
Yeah.
I don't care if, they never did anything. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Any grown man knows better. So,
yeah,
like,
you don't interact with children, you know, unless it's at a time that, you know what I mean, needs the interaction. Like, you don't just seek out children to talk to.
Right. Yeah. Like, I could see if there was, you know, if Jess's daughter was here with a couple of her friends and they're here and they're playing, and that you need to have an adult and you're working on your stuff, but I'm not going to go I'm not sitting in the room with them, you know, actively having a conversation. Like, you're just little kids.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
weird.
Yeah. It's just not. It's abnormal.
That's predator behavior.
Well,
period.
Right. And for, you know, Jimmy or Mrbeast to kind of know these things are going on and not say, the f are you doing? That's inappropriate. And even if you say, hey, even if you think, well, whatever, it's not appropriate, but it's not my place. Let's say you're some weirdo and you think, oh, well, it's not my place to really correct him or anything. It doesn't matter, bro. You work for me. You reflect on what I'm doing. I can't have you doing this. This is going to come down on me.
Right. And it's not like he was just one of those employees that was on the peripheral that's only been there a few months.
Yeah. You're
motherfucker. You've been here since the very beginning. You're part of the brand. He's part of the brand.
Right.
Yeah. He's part of the brand. So, yep, that's the shenanigans that was going on in the very beginning, you know, and then there was Delaware. I don't think we've even brought that up yet.
No.
There was a gentleman that goes by the name of Delaware, which wasn't his real name, but they call him Delaware because all of the crimes he committed on a person between the ages of 1 and 11 were committed in Delaware, where he can never return to. Right. So it was kind of a running joke that they were going to call him Delaware. And Jimmy got caught calling him Delaware on camera.
Right.
So that
and
means
he's wearing a face.
Of course, they put a mask on him and called him Zorro because they didn't want people to look up his picture on the registry and see his photo and see that he was working for Mrbeast. So they stuck a mask on him, which is an admission of guilt. Like, you knew his background then. If you changed his name and put a mask on him, you knew his background.
Right.
Especially if you're calling him Delaware, then you knew exactly what was going on.
Well, it's funny. They just had that whole thing on Disney, right? Yeah. That came out on Disney, Nickelodeon. Like, the people from Nickelodeon, some of those people ended up getting fired or quitting and then going to work for Disney. It's like, what are you doing?
You know,
you're a offender. You shouldn't be working in this environment. You shouldn't know about it. And if you let him go and then he turns around and goes to Disney, you hired him. You knew about it. Like, what are all of you people do? Oh, well, he's good for sound. He does our sound. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, what are you doing? It's only a matter of time before that guy ends up locked up in Coleman for diddling somebody.
Yeah, I mean, you hired a registered offender that you knew was a registered offender.
And look, I don't.
In a children that's marketed in a show that's marketed to children.
Listen, a registered offender, that's fine. You can do my drywall. You can paint the house. There are things that you can do. You can be a mechanic. There's plenty of jobs. You can work in a factory. You don't get to work around kids. And as a registered offender, you already know better. So if you're seeking those jobs out, there's a specific reason.
You're trying to put yourself in a position to where you can have access to children.
Right. It's certainly not because, oh, well, I do sound for your productions. Right.
Yeah.
There's lots of productions that don't have 12-year-old kids walking around.
Yeah.
So you're going out, you went to Nickelodeon, and then you went to Disney, or you went to the Mrbeast podcast. Like, there's something going on. You're targeting these environments where you can be surrounded by children.
Yeah.
You know, and for Mrbeast to not know that.
Yeah.
Like, everybody saw that Nickelodeon
just
thing.
To say he's absolutely complicit in all of this, I think is absolute poppycock.
Well,
no, he is. You're saying complicit. He is complicit. He is you're saying you just said he's not.
If he wasn't complicit in all of this, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure he had to have.
He is.
What that came out was that this guy sat down with Mrbeast and his mom, who like helped manage the team these years ago when this guy came apart, and like explained the whole situation. Basically, he pled guilty to these charges. It was 4th degree.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be taken off his record or something in the fall, but I'm sure people would wonder, like, why would somebody plead guilty if they did something?
From what I hear, Mrbeast is they're trying to get it expunged. Like, Mrbeast and his legal team are throwing all this money at it, trying to get all the charges expunged off the dude's record.
So you're saying
scumbags.
So you're saying that once again, she's 11 and you're 16 years old.
Yeah.
It's inappropriate. You knew at 16 it was inappropriate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, did you know that, I could get in a lot of trouble for it doesn't matter. You still knew it wasn't right. She's 11. And we're
Have you seen pictures
11.
of the dude?
That's given the guy.
Have you seen pictures of Delaware?
No.
He looks like a creep.
Does he?
He's a big old fat dude with a beard, and he's fucking. You just
the perfect choma,
you just want
right?
to punch him right in the face. He just looks like one of those guys you want to just sock him right in his shit.
Did you ever? You were there when? Do you remember? So at Coleman, there's a Coleman's the prison. Bozak and I were both at. There's a ton of fucking offenders, right?
Yeah.
There were some of them that like you couldn't tell, right? They could be anybody.
I palled around with one of them for a year, and he was undercover.
Oh, what was it? Oh.
I played dominoes with the kid every single day.
Oh, he was the one who said he was there for fraud. They always pick fraud, too. They always say they were locked up for fraud.
I committed credit card fraud.
Yeah. You couldn't tell you one thing about it.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, but there are some of these guys that are walking around that you're like, as soon as you look at them, you're like, you're a chomo. Like, I don't give a if what you're here for. There's a cho charge in it, either prior or it's coming.
Yeah.
Like you look at them, you're like, are you out of your? They're fat, super fat guy. Never done any physical activity. Thick glasses. Unshaven, like exactly what you think.
Yeah, just imagine the fat dude that works at the comic book store that plays Dungeons and Dragons
all day.
Those are offenders.
It looks like he hasn't taken a shower in a week. His hair's all greasy.
Yeah, most of them are either autistic or they're borderline autism.
They're and they'll justify it. They'll try and justify what happened. Oh, you don't understand. She seduced me. She was 8. What are you talking about, bro? What are you talking about? You're a 40-fucking-year-old man. So I mean, you're 16 years old, you know better. And we're given the benefit of the doubt that the girl was 11. We're saying it's 1 to 11. Who knows, bro?
Yeah.
And you got it, and you're 16. It was so bad they charged you as an adult, and now it's going to be expunged. Okay.
Yeah. So why would someone plead guilty if they didn't do it?
If you're 100% innocent, you don't plead guilty.
No, not for that charge.
No, not for that charge.
No.
I'm taking that to trial.
Right.
I'll go to the Supreme Court if I have to.
Even if you lose and you went to trial as a offender, at the very least, you get to make the argument, I didn't do it, I went to trial.
Yeah.
I lost a trial, the government this, the government
that. And I'm
that.
not signing no registry, and I'm not registering for shit. So you motherfuckers just have to keep me in prison for the rest of my life. You guys are gonna be having to chase after me because I'm not registering for anything.
I got a buddy who literally his brother will not register. What's so funny?
He's guilty though, right?
No, he's guilty. You know what he did though? And this is funny because I heard this. Here's what he said he did. And this is like he goes, he's homeless. It's a homeless guy walking through an alleyway, took a piss. A little kid was sitting in their backyard and looked out and saw him go to the bathroom. As he's finishing up, the mom walks by and she says, "What's going on?" And she said, "That man just, And so the mom walks and sees that the guy's putting himself up. She doesn't quite know what's going on. Now, the little boy said he peed.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter. He flashed him. Nothing the little boy wouldn't have seen in a men's room, by the way. Anyway, keeps walking. She calls the police.
We need to cut that part out.
What?
That crossed my mind. I was like,
yeah, cut that part out.
So he's walking through the hall, down the alleyway, and the cops show up and they grab him. They says, "What happened?" He said, "Nothing. I was just back. What were you doing back there?" "I was taking a piss." And they're like, "Oh, well, the little boy saw you." They charge him. He gets arrested. Lawyer shows up there after he's been there a few days. Says, "Look, take a plea. No big deal. You'll get probation. You'll get, it's not that big of a deal." He says, "Okay." "Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, you did do it. You did. Oh, okay." Signs it. He's supposed to go to get probation.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he goes to see his probation officer, he says, "Okay, you have to go register." And he says, "What? Register for what?" He goes, "You have to register as a sex offender." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "What are you talking about?" "Yeah, it was indecent exposure. That falls under the Florida registration." He's like, "I just went to the bathroom in an alleyway. A little kid saw me. Like, I wasn't flashing him. I'm not a weirdo. I was just using the bathroom." They're like, "Yeah, no, that's, but you already pled guilty." Has never registered. He's done years. He's done like 5 or 6 years. They won't register, so they keep putting warrants out. He gets arrested. He goes to jail for 3 months. Then it's 6. Then it's 9. Then it's 10. Then it's 2 years. Then it's 3 years. Next time, it just keeps going and going. Yeah. He's done like 5 or 10 years or something like that.
God bless him. Fighting a good fight.
He will not do it. Which is funny because my buddy said, he goes, which is amazing because he said, "I'm actually proud of him." He goes, "I've never seen him stick to anything in his life." He said he won't get a job. He won't do the. He said he's complete loser. He said, but he ain't registering. I'm like, your life would be better if you did register. You wouldn't have to keep going to jail. He's like, "I don't give a fuck. I didn't do that."
Yeah. Good for him. Fighting a good fight.
Another wrinkle in this whole kind of certain situation. There's this creator, Jake the Viking, who also used to work for Mrbeast.
Yeah.
Okay.
And why all this was initially coming out, he was saying like Jimmy knew, just kind of like hammering down like.
Yeah, I seen the tweets from Jake. Yeah, he came out. He's like, "Oh, Jimmy absolutely 100% knew everything beforehand." Yeah.
Yeah, and like he's going hard. And now the Delaware guy is his brother-in-law.
Oh, yeah.
No way.
Yeah. He came out with a thing, basically, it was almost like a press release. Like, you don't understand. He was 16. He was charged as an adult. He didn't do this. And he kind of explained, like, he's been back to Delaware several times. He said, it's not, they don't call him Delaware because he can't go back to Delaware. It's because he's from Delaware. Like, they
tried to clean it up.
Yeah, he cleans up. He very much tried to make the whole situation seem very benign, which doesn't really make sense to me. It's not benign. Mm-hmm. Either way, as benign as it could be, as much of a misunderstanding as it could be.
Yeah, I didn't know that was his brother-in-law.
Yeah,
that's a whole new twist.
Right. Well, even if you could say, "Oh, hey, this has been taken out of context," really, okay, tell me what the context is that you've got a sex offender working around children and you're actively trying to hide it. Tell me about how that's taken out of context. Like, there's no way. You know what's happening.
This thing just keeps getting deeper and deeper.
Right. So the whole thing is to run toward it. Like that, you're running away from it isn't scraping this, scrubbing this, doing this. That's not the way to do it. The way to do it is to come out and say, "Look, I fucked up. Here's what I did."
Yeah. Mrbeast is cooked.
Yeah.
It's like sketch.
Listen, nobody loves to see someone take a dive more than Bosie.
I don't know what it is. I'm not a hater. I swear to God, I'm not a hater. I really swear to God, I'm not. But when things like this happen, I've been so happy ever since this whole thing started. I've been following every second of it. I've been watching every YouTube video because I just think it's the greatest thing. To happen. I think the downfall of Mrbeast. Because listen,
but I want the best for people.
No, because listen, the philanthropy, the helping blind people see. He had me convinced.
Right.
Honestly, no, 100% wholeheartedly, he had me convinced.
You start thinking, I
was on Team Jimmy when all of this started. I'm like, nah, he's a philanthropist. He's curing blind people. He's building wells in Africa. He's cleaning the trash out of the oceans. I mean, this is come on now, Mr.
It's all fake.
It's all bullshit.
It's all fake.
Even the philanthropy work is all bullshit. Right. If you look into it.
What about what was the other one where he stayed in a tent on a raft for a week or 2 weeks? But he didn't.
Like they were saying like, "Oh, we gotta film real videos." Jimmy was sleeping in a yacht that was floating probably 100 yards away from the raft. Yeah, it's all so the faking of the videos. We can get into that if you want to. I mean, the faking of the videos now. I originally thought they were all for real, but I'm not that hard to.
I think we before we go into
fool.
the let's wrap up, I guess, some of the sexual stuff for now.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Like Mrbeast did come out and he did like an official kind of real.
Well, he fired Chris.
corporate-
He fired Chris Tyson.
Yeah, Chris Tyson said, "I'm stepping away," and then like a day later, Mrbeast like, "I let go of this guy."
Right.
Like a very corporate response, and he hasn't responded since. And kind
No,
of
what he said, I'm absolutely disgusted.
yeah.
That was the official. That was the official release. Is like, I cannot believe this happened. I'm absolutely disgusted and appalled.
That you guys figured this out.
Yeah, and
I really thought I had it covered.
So with the sexual things, so let's go to Chris or Ava. What do you think will happen, if anything? Like, do you think?
No, nothing's gonna happen
You
because
don't
there
think
was nothing technically. There were no laws broken technically.
Even sending,
I mean, grooming.
Yeah.
If that's even a law, I think grooming is actually a law now. So I mean, if they really wanted to press the issue, I'm sure they might be able to get him for that. But I mean, there was no, as far as we know, there was no physical contact. There were no laws
would
broken.
the Discord not be if he's sending to kids underage in a Discord chat?
Oh yeah, there you go.
Well, yeah,
that's illegal.
Yeah, that's definitely illegal.
That's illegal.
Yeah,
But we don't. But I hadn't heard that. I just heard that it was inappropriate. Is that
Yeah,
what you're
so
saying?
if he was sending to children under the age of 18, then that's 100% illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think the issue with maybe the Discord chat, and I don't know this 100%, is like, I don't know if you can actually see the linked images because they would be linking images. Like, and the kids.
And since that whole Discord server's been taken down.
Yeah. And the kids have claimed that's what it was. You know, they've saying that they say corn, like they've been sharing corn in the thing. So,
yeah, well, then that's illegal.
Okay. So hypothetically, if this guy or girl, whatever you want to call it, goes to jail, is he going to a female prison or is he going to a male prison?
Yeah,
he's going to men's prison. He's going to men's federal prison.
Yeah.
This isn't California, where you get to say I'm a girl and they send you to the women's prison. That's the state of California that does that crazy shit.
And how would he be treated in federal prison?
They'd send him to a low security. The lows are now packed with sex offenders.
Oh, he would have admirers. He would get there and he would have chocolate on his bed and a new pair of sneakers and some sweats waiting for him.
Yeah.
When he got there.
Yeah, there wouldn't be like you'll hear these guys. Oh, we defender, we beat him to that. We did well.
No,
not in the low.
they f- the offenders when they go in there, fucking
Well,
and not by force.
Now there are some. I mean, there's still rules, right? Like there's still rules. Like there would be like ban, like unless they go there and they're able to convince people that they're not there for that. Like that's what a lot of them will come in and say, "Oh, I'm here for selling marijuana," but 90% of them say fraud because they think it's complicated and people won't understand it. The problem is you start talking to a fraudster and he's like, "What? Like that doesn't make sense,"
Yeah.
Or even worse, they get there and they say, "My lawyer told me not to talk about my case." Immediately, that's a mistake.
Yeah, so there's gonna be certain parts of the prison that are just off limits to you.
Yeah, TV rooms.
A lot of the TV rooms, you go in there, you're gonna have to fight. Somebody's you're both going to the shoe. You know what I mean? And there's guys in there that don't mind going and sitting in the shoe. Just if you come in, you know what I mean? I'll take one for the team. I'll just beat him up real quick, and I'll go to the shoe. I'll come back.
And the administration isn't that hard on those guys. Does that make sense? So you smash a offender. There's not necessarily a lot that's going to happen.
You're going to go sit in the shoe for what, 90 days?
Yeah.
Max?
Yeah, max.
3
I was going to
months?
say, used to be when I got there first, it would have been like 90 days, but now maybe 30.
Yeah, maybe a few weeks. A few weeks you'll sit there, they'll bring you back. They'll bring you back to the yard, and that'll be it.
Yeah. And the guards are kind of like, they're almost like a, hey, good for you.
Yeah.
And so those guys also, like, they can't really, they'll have to have their own like softball teams. Their own, they'll make their own band. They call them the show band. They'll have like a little band. If you want to join the band, you're not joining our band. Like these guys there'll be like 20 bands.
But there's enough of them to where they have their own community.
Correct. They have their own community, but they don't mix with the other guys.
You remember they'd all go down and play Dungeons and Dragons in that one fucking cell?
Yeah.
There'd be like 10 of them and they're all playing Dungeons and Dragons. They had a board, they had dice and everything made up.
Listen, for some of these guys, and these aren't dice that they bought. These are dice they would make the dice.
Yeah.
But the thing is that like for some of these guys, this is the first time they ever had friends in their lives.
Yeah. They have community. They're around like-minded individuals. As fucked up as that sounds, dude. Yeah. So they're happy in there. They got friends to hang out with. You see them smiling and palling around with other people on the yard.
Federal prison is different than state prison. Oh, if you're a state prisoner,
state prison's for the peasants. That's where they send all the animals.
Yeah. So if this guy raped, they use. Right.
Yeah, I'm muted anyways.
Okay. If this is somebody who grabbed a kid, threw him in the van, kidnapped him, did whatever they did, and gets charged with a state crime and goes to state prison, he's got a
there's a
horrific
50-50 chance you might not make it out alive.
Yeah, exactly.
In state prison as a offender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what would determine whether it's federal or state?
Internet.
Yep.
You said sending pictures back and forth.
Anything you do online, it's federal.
Yeah. They're going federal.
Yeah. Even if you were planning to meet up. If you accessed it online, it's federal.
Right.
Yeah. At the beginning of this year, Cat Williams gave an interview where he said 2024 is going to be the year of exposure for everybody, and it has been.
It's just been one after another.
P. Diddy, like everything's coming out. Everybody's BS is coming out. Yeah. Everybody's getting exposed, and now the Mrbeast thing's all coming out. So he wasn't lying. Like 2024 is the year where everybody's bullshit is getting exposed.
Oh, what was that?
Just weird how it's all happening.
What was I was gonna say.
Fucking weird.
The other thing that came out was like, I wonder about conspiracy. Like, I wonder if they could rope you. Look, the federal government can do anything. If the federal government said, you know what, we're going to call this a conspiracy, and that Mrbeast was a part of the conspiracy, and we're going to indict him and multiple. They could do it. They won't do it.
No, it's never going to happen
because it'd be such a stretch, and he could mount such a defense. He'd win it in court.
He's a billionaire. Yeah.
Yeah. But if it was just Joe Schmo, some low level guy that didn't have enough money to fight, the federal government would probably start indict 6 other people on the staff who'd say, you knew about this was going on, you knew this, you knew that, get them all to start rolling over on each other saying, yeah, Jimmy knew this, Jimmy knew that. And then they'd all have to start taking pleas because they don't have enough of a budget to hire a decent lawyer to fight them in court. But that's not going to happen here.
So what would the conspiracy be? Like, a conspiracy would be just like knowing
conspiracy
and
to commit fraud, conspiracy
and cover it up.
Yeah,
and cover it up. You'd be conspiring with you, knowing what you're doing, sending these photographs. I knew it. I had you working in this environment. I gave you access to these kids. Like, they can rope you into a conspiracy for anything.
Yeah.
I never got on there. It doesn't matter. You knew he was getting on there. You knew what he was sending. All they need is 2 other guys to get on the stand and say, nah, he knew. We had a conversation about it. Even if they never did, they'll get them. Well, we'll drop the charges on you, but you get on the stand and say that you were part of this conversation.
I don't think anybody was surprised that they were faking a lot of the videos. Like, I don't even think that was, they were, and they said that everything was real, but it came out that, a lot of it's BS. A lot of it is staged. A lot of it's scripted. There's a lot of CGI being used. A lot of I put a Lamborghini in a crusher. Apparently, that was all bullshit.
But the guy was talking about how, like, this isn't legal. Like, I don't know.
Well, here's one that could potentially be
illegal.
So they had a Willy Wonka type of competition where you had to buy a candy bar, you get a golden ticket to go to compete in this game.
Okay.
And one of the kind of fishy things were it's basically a sweepstakes. I think if you wanted to, you could probably send in a letter to enter. And it's supposed to be at random. So there was 6 or 7 contestants, and one of the persons was rumored to be Chris Tyson's cousin. But one of the people just so happened to be a YouTuber with 700,000 subscribers. And in their video where they opened up the chocolate bar and got the golden ticket and things like that, the dude asked his wife, he's like, what do you have to say to Mrbeast? And she says, thanks, Jimmy, for picking us. And he's like, no. It was completely random.
Right.
And she's like, oh, yeah, I'm so excited. So it's like everybody's buying these chocolate bars to have a chance to enter into these videos when...
Yeah, meanwhile, he's making millions of dollars in sales from his product. Yeah, but
it's rigged. It's rigged.
That's what the thing about all the lotteries is they were saying all the lotteries were rigged or they were illegal. And they weren't illegal technically because... Like there's some kind of legal loophole where you have to be like on a broadcasted network TV broadcasted for the lottery to be illegal. But since it was a YouTube video, like there's a gray area there with the legality.
Entertainment or something. It just feels it still feels like fraud. I mean, I know fraud. It feels like fraud.
Yeah.
It's another thing is so I'll give you an example. I grew up with these guys named the Cultists. Frank Calta owned a bunch of gyms, right? I grew up with his sons. And one time I remember he had this is when big screen, this is back in like the 80s, right? Big screen TVs. This is before flat screens. These are big screens.
They weighed about 1,000 pounds.
They're massive. And I mean, they're like 3 feet
I've had to move a few of those things.
Huge.
Forget about it. You throw them in the trash.
So he bought a big screen TV and was taking people. What did you have to do? Oh, you had to buy like tickets. So he was selling whatever, $2 a ticket. And if once we get to this much.
It was like a raffle.
It was a raffle. It was a raffle. I want to say it had something to do with putting in your friends' names for like, who do you know that might want to sign up to the gym? Like you pay this much and give us, or you can give us 3 leads, something like that, regardless. I believe Frank Calta's one of his best friends, Adrian, ended up winning the TV, winning the TV.
Yeah.
And everybody knew it. You know, Trent was like, "Oh no, he just gave it to Adrian." I'm like, "So he's not? Who won it?" And he was like, you know, because I'm gonna like put in $2 or something like that. Trent's like, "Save your money." Like Adrian's getting that TV, bro. Like, don't put in $2. And my buddy Trent Calta, his son.
Yeah.
So yeah, they just gave it away. So I mean, you know, it's gimmicky, but you're taking in money. You're making money off of this false promise. Yeah, it's fraud. That's fraud.
That's fraud. Yeah.
So the idea that he's
whether or not you work for a broadcast company or not, when there's that much money involved, when you're making millions of dollars from selling T-shirts, and you say, "Oh, buy this T-shirt." What was the lottery with the T-shirt when they got caught faking the signatures?
Yeah, so they were doing a live stream, which now they've all been scrubbed, deleted off the internet. You can't find them.
Man, see what I'm saying? That really looks bad. Like whoever said, "Oh, let's take them off," bro, you look bad doing that.
Yeah. Getting rid of evidence.
Yeah.
You're getting rid of the evidence.
Yeah. So they had a live stream where they're signing T-shirts live and they're giving away certain things. And one of the things was they're like, "Okay, buy a shirt in the next 5 minutes and you have a chance to win this Xbox or whatever it is." And then 5 minutes.
PlayStation 5.
Yeah, PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
5 minute passes is 6, 7 minutes in. And then they say, "Okay, in the next 30 seconds, whoever buys is going to win this PlayStation." So all those people who just bought the last 5 minutes before, the 5-minute window has passed, and you know, so they're just, you know,
nobody won it.
Well, nobody won it. Well, someone won it after the threshold. They said buy within the next 5 minutes, and then they're saying, and you're gonna have a chance to get a shirt signed by Mrbeast himself. Like, you know, he's doing MB, his initials.
And then it showed Chandler.
Or no, it's another guy. It wasn't Chandler. Some other guy.
Yeah.
Clearly wrote MB on the
Mrbeast. Showed him in the camera writing Mrbeast's signature.
Looked up at the camera.
And then covered it with his hands.
Covered it, passed it, and the other guy got it, looked, and just like was looking around.
Yeah.
And just passed it away.
I watched that. He covered his signature with his hands when he realized the camera was on him.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's just all kinds of shenanigans going on behind the scenes. At this point, it's like, was anything real?
Right.
Like, was it maybe in the beginning when they very first started? But even then, like, I've heard stories about him giving away fake money and then taking it back on camera, or like when he was ordering a pizza and then tipping the delivery driver $10,000.
Is that not true? Because listen, I actually remember hearing that story. I loved that story.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. He's like, yeah, the guy came back the next day and he was practically in tears and he was thanking me. He was able to spend the day with his son.
Yeah. Or no, and then he did one where he was tipping he would order a pizza and then tip the delivery driver the house.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't see that.
They would show up to the house and he'd be like, "Here's the keys. This is your house now." Pretty much ordeal.
With the money one, I'm assuming he gave him the money, but there's clips of him holding the money out in front of the guy, and he's like, "Can you smile?" And the guy smiles, like, "Well, can you do like a bigger thing, like a bigger smile?"
Making him do the.
Can you do this? Can you do
over
this?
and over again?
Where it's like
totally faking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like kind of like, I have to get this perfect snapshot. And there has been, you know, we'll get to the Amazon games a little bit later, which is that's kind of a developing story. But they were saying that in the Amazon game, like they gave him like $20,000 or $10,000 on camera. They get all excited and they're like, "Okay, you know, we need to take that back. It's a different settlement. Like, we're going to pay you later," or they haven't received the money yet. And there's been times.
You'll get a check in the mail. This was just for the camera.
Yeah.
You don't really get this cash. We're going to send it to you later in the mail. And they never.
They never. I'd be like, "You getting that up? No, you can send me a 1099 is what you can do."
And this is the Amazon show that's kind of in production. So that's kind of a developing story. But what we'll get to with the guy that did this video that went wrong, he was given cash for the day, like $10,000 every day. He was given cash, and then Mrbeast was like, "Now can you say to the camera, 'Oh, now I'm going to be able to pay off my student loans?'" So like, and the guy
You're talking about the guy they tortured.
Yeah. The guy they
I
tortured.
don't have student loans. Like, what are you talking about?
No, yeah,
Like,
they tortured some kid pretty much. They kept him in a room where he was supposed to be in there for 100 days. They didn't let him see any sunlight. They didn't put any clocks in there. They kept the lights on all night long. They apparently had like a jacuzzi in the room with them, but it wasn't hooked up to filtration or anything. So the water just got really stinky and stagnant, and it like had like stuff
like
growing in it.
It's like the shoe.
Yeah, it made the whole room stink, and he had like an ice cream machine that was like either super loud or like it stunk really bad because everything was fermenting inside the machine. Like it was just crazy, like what they did to this poor kid. And then they came in the middle of the night and brought him a treadmill, and they're like, you have to run a marathon. And he got in the treadmill and they made him run a marathon. Like the blisters on the bottoms of both of his feet were like bubbles, and all the like the muscles in his legs atrophied, and like fucking he had to quit the challenge, and they couldn't even use the video. Like he was like, I'm done, I quit this whole thing. And then like they couldn't even use any of the footage, any of the video. Jimmy was apparently pissed because he spent all this money on the set and this, that, and the other. A lot of these things just kind of go to show the overall scumbaggery that was going on behind the scenes when everybody thought that, this is YouTube's golden boy. I mean, this is an honest human being that, does philanthropy work and is just, trying to help people. And
no. Well, it's the Jake Paul scamming people, coming up.
But everybody knew Jake Paul was a slimy scumbag from the very beginning. I mean, nobody's ever liked him. You know what I mean? Like he's had controversy going back 10 years.
Okay, right.
It wasn't a surprise to anybody when it came out that they were scamming people and ripping people off.
Right.
Like that was expected with Jake and Logan Paul.
Okay.
With Mrbeast, what I'm saying is he's
always been the wonderful.
He was the Dalai Lama, goddamn YouTube.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That'd be a good title, the Dalai Lama of YouTube.
He was.
People are wondering like why Mrbeast and Logan are so close. Like why is he having Logan in these videos when he's kind of in the midst of all these controversies and things like that. And that's kind of some rhetoric that you see online as well.
So the guy the mistreatment of the one guy,
and he was the center focal point of Dogpack 404's second video on Mrbeast. Now, apparently what happened is they contacted him. They had fired him because he had worked there before. Then they fired him. And then they contacted him and said, since you left on good terms and you were a good employee, we need you to come back and you can do this challenge and make some money. And the challenge is we lock you in a room for 100 days. You have to survive in a room for 100 days and complete all these challenges. And then at the end of which you win a bunch of money. Apparently they tortured this poor guy.
Right.
I mean, they didn't let him see the sun for a month. Listen, if it's all fake anyway, you can let the guy out for a couple hours and let him go run around in the grass like a dog, like you're letting the dog out.
Right.
But they didn't let him see any sunlight. They didn't let him look at any clocks. There were things in his environment that were potentially hazardous, and were causing irritants to his senses, like sense of smell and all that crap. What else happened?
He couldn't sleep was like the biggest thing.
Insomnia. Yeah, that was like the biggest thing. And they said they needed to keep the lights on all night for the time lapse videos when they could have just shot it in night vision. The little green where they put the night vision on. They could have shot
infrared.
They could have shot all that but they were torturing the poor kid.
Yeah.
And then I guess they would come on in the middle of the night and like loud sounds on like the speakers and shit like that, and like they would get on the microphone at like 3 a.m. and start making like barking noises and cat noises just to wake him up. Like it was torture. I mean, they were literally torturing the poor kid. And then apparently they came in
shoe-like, just like basically the federal prison shoe.
But you got somebody with you nonstop not letting you sleep. You know what I mean?
Right. There was at least, you could at least sleep sometimes. If you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. Whether you're having trouble falling asleep, you're waking up sweating in the middle of the night, or all of the above. That's where Ghost Bed can help. As the makers of the coolest beds in the world, Ghost Bed is your go-to for cooling mattresses, cooling pillows, and cooling bedding. From their signature Ghost Ice fabric to patented technology that adjusts to your body's temperature, every Ghost Bed mattress is designed with cooling in mind. So whether you want a plusher mattress that cushions your shoulders and hips, or a firm option with exceptional support, your Ghost Bed will keep you cool and comfortable all night long. When you purchase a Ghost Bed mattress, your comfort is guaranteed. You can try out your mattress for 101 nights, risk-free, to make sure it's the right fit for you. Plus, they offer free shipping, and most items are shipped within 24 hours. If you're not sure which Ghost Bed is right for you, Check out their mattress quiz. You'll answer a few questions and get a personalized recommendation. Even better, our listeners can get 50% off site-wide for a limited time. Just visit ghostbed.com/Cox and use the code COX at checkout. Again, that's ghostbed.com/Cox with the code COX at the checkout to save a whopping 50% off site-wide.
Kicking on the
What is
doors.
the shoe? Can you explain that?
So the SHU stands for Special Housing Unit,
Right.
In prison, and it's where
It's the hole.
it's a segregated part of the prison they put you when you have behavioral problems. Say you get into a fight, you get caught stealing, you piss somebody off, you get caught in the bathroom doing something you're not supposed to be doing with another inmate. You go to the SHU. You go to the Special Housing Unit. And basically what it is you go there. It's one room. They put you in that room, and you stay in that one room for the remainder of your entire sentence in the Special Housing Unit.
Right.
Now,
There's a stainless steel toilet in there, a sink, there's a shower.
Yep.
You don't leave the room. They're supposed to let you out like three times a week to go to another small room, a cage, basically a small cage.
But it's outside.
It's sort of outside. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of outside.
I never went to the SHU, so I don't know.
So it's covered, but yeah, there you can see outside, but the walls are 20 feet tall. So all you can see is the sky. Like I'm not seeing outside, it's the sky. So
we have sunshine coming down on you at least.
it depends on when they let you
Yeah,
out. Like
that's
if
true.
they let you out at 3 o'clock, you're not getting 3 or 4
Depends
o'clock.
on where the sun is.
Yeah, depends. You may just be in the shadow, but you can see blue sky, maybe clouds. And the thing is, when they come around, like you could be sleeping, doing something, they'll walk around, boom, boom, boom. SHU, you ready? You ready? Hold on. All right, you can do it on Tuesday. You should have been ready. How am I supposed to know when you guys decide to? So when they do it randomly. So basically, you never go outside. And even then, when you go outside, you only have to go outside once or twice to be like, it. So what? You're going to move me from this room to this room so I can see the sky. Go yourself.
Yeah.
So you are. Basically, it's exactly that. 24 hours. They would argue you're allowed to go outside for what? 3 hours a week?
Yeah.
At best?
Yeah.
And it's allowed all the time.
Yeah.
You never leave. Certainly toxic. Like there's fucking black mold in there. It's, I actually liked being in the SHU because I was able to just read and just hang out the whole time, and I was alone. Like I don't like people that much.
Mm-hmm.
So, but even me, after 3 or 4 weeks, they'd knock on the door. Cox, you taking cellies? For the first 3 weeks, I'm like, no. After 3 weeks, even I was like, yeah, put somebody in here.
Somebody to talk to.
You start getting a little bit kooky. You start to know only, and because it's so dark and you don't really know when day or night is, you start counting the meals. They're feeding me 3 times a day. So by the third meal, I know one day's gone. So, but yeah,
this is very. So it's almost very similar.
Yeah.
But would you say this would be worse or?
It sounds like that was worse though because of
He did have a hot tub
and
and an ice cream machine.
But the lights did not go off, and that was the big
and the
thing.
noise, not being able to sleep. At least there were spans of 5, 6, 7, 8 hours you could sleep, and even when as loud as it was, there were only specific times. Like there were times during the day when everybody would pretty much sleep. You could sleep.
Listen, I was in a county jail in South Carolina, waiting to get charged, waiting to get sentenced, and then sent to prison. It's 23-1. I was in that room 23 hours a day. You come out for 1 hour every single day to either use the phone or take a shower, but you couldn't do both. Because there was a line for the phone and there was a line for the shower. So either you waited in line for the phone and you maybe got to use the phone, or you waited in line for the shower and maybe you got to take a shower.
That was Atlanta. When I was in the holdover in Atlanta, it was the same thing.
I've been through Atlanta too,
yeah. And they had like mice. Everybody calls them rats, but they weren't. They were little tiny mice. They were
tiny
cute.
mice.
They were fine.
Yeah. And what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So basically that's what it was. I sat in this room for 23 hours a day. I never came out. There was no radio. You couldn't listen to music. There was no TVs. You couldn't watch TVs. You were lucky if you got a book because there was no book program. There was no bookmobile that came through and everybody got to browse and pick their favorite novel.
I was lucky.
No, you would get a book and sometimes it would be ripped in half. So you'd only read half the book.
Suckers.
They'd rip pages out of the books before you get it, so you never really got to, so there's all kinds of stories out there I haven't even fully read yet. Like I've only gotten halfway through, and I don't know how they end.
Listen, I would take an envelope and I would put book. I'd write book really big, over and over and over again. So it was like big, thick block, and I would slide it out the door So you could see where it said book, right? And I would slide it up and down, like as the guards walk by, I'd be like banging on the door because they don't even want to make eye contact.
Yeah.
They're walking down the hallway, they don't even look, and I'm sitting there the whole time, sliding it up and down, and they'd walk by and they go, all right, Cox, I'll get you, calm the down, it's coming, and then they'd come back 20 minutes later, it's like. And then you do that enough because you have to do it over and over and over again. People are like, what are you bugging the guard for? Motherfucker. You know how many times I've done this and they've said they're coming and 2 days later there's still no books?
Yeah.
You know, so they'll tell you, they're liars. Eventually they'll walk down and be like, hey, I'm going to give you 5 books. Give me 5 books back though. Because guys will pile books up in there. And I'll be like, here, take this one, this one, this one. I'm reading this one.
Yeah.
We'll give it. What about that? What about that? You can't be picky, Cox. You know?
It's basically just it's human warehousing.
Yeah.
Nothing more, nothing less. They find a hole to put you in. They hire somebody to make sure that you're not in there killing yourself or killing somebody else, and that's it.
Right.
That's the extent of what jail is. It's a human warehouse.
But what about? But nobody ever slid a treadmill into my shit and told me I had to run a marathon either. So.
But if they would have, I would have.
Yeah. Yes.
I'd be on that treadmill all day and all night.
The guy got sores, and is that part of making the
He wasn't
winning?
a cross country runner.
It was that,
Didn't have it in him.
right? Was that what I'm saying to you is?
Yeah, so,
was that
so
part
back,
of making
so back
the
to
money?
the story. Back to it's whatever. It's you have to do whatever they tell you to do.
Okay, well,
So if they come in the middle of the night and they slide a treadmill in there and they say you have to run 20 miles right now or else it's game over and there's $300,000 on the line. Guess what? I'm going to try and run those 20 miles to get this $300,000.
Yeah,
I don't care what happens.
Yeah, I think they came in and said, here's your $10,000 for the day, and here's another $10,000 if you can run a marathon. And the guy said he felt like he couldn't say no. Because he has to perform for, he's like, I'm a monkey in a cage. I have to perform. I have to make a good video.
Right.
He's like, all this money's on, like, I feel like I can't say no to what they do.
how does that work? You get Mrbeast and a couple guys are sitting here saying, what happened to that prick Jake? He used to work here. Yeah. You know what we ought to, I always didn't like that guy. We ought to call that fucker up, lock him up in him. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure. And listen, I'm sure there's been conversations like that. You know what? Yeah,
what can we do to him?
Yeah, what can we do to him?
Jake says that in the interview. He's like, I never liked Mrbeast. Mrbeast never liked me. He'd always try to cut me out of certain things and do all this kind of stuff. So
yeah, he said 90% of my career wound up on the cutting room floor for Mrbeast. He's like, everything I did never even made it to the videos. And then they brought him back and they tortured the shit out of him.
And once again, they don't use it.
Yeah, so apparently Mrbeast is not just a good guy, the kind-hearted, philanthropist that the rest of the world has been led to believe.
Right.
And that's what I love about this whole situation. Right? Really, no, honestly, truly, that's what I actually truly love about this whole situation.
I know. Trust me, I know.
This is the greatest thing to happen this whole entire year.
When you're the one that told me about it, I'd seen like one TikTok or something, and then when I said, "Hey, you want to do a video? Do you need to watch a bunch of videos?" I've watched them all. I've watched 20 videos on this. I've watched everything. I've consumed everything. I'm totally onto this.
I've been on this for the past 4 or 5 days. Ever since the first dog pack video came out, I've been following along for everything because it's interesting. And it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
For this guy. So it's not like it's a one-off. It's kind of like the whole wasn't me thing.
It's like a ball of yarn. Once the little first been picked, the whole thing's coming unwound now.
It's kind of like, it's like the Harvey Weinstein thing where there's these subtle kind of, it's kind of known, and then they're waiting and waiting. It's out there and it's brewing, but everybody's too scared. Then one person said, "Hey, this isn't right. I'm gonna say something." They say something. Next thing you know, it's like boom. Hey, same thing. Hey, you know what? And then boom. Next thing you know,
hashtag me too. You're going to prison.
How has this? How did this happen? How did this happen to this many people? Because he was such a huge presence and was so powerful. Nobody wants to be the first.
He controlled people's careers, entire careers.
Well, it's the same thing. Mrbeast is like, you're not going to get a job going from Mrbeast. There's no other comparable job.
And it's funny you bring up Harvey Weinstein because apparently Mrbeast just hired Harvey Weinstein's PR team.
Yeah, I think we should get that. But there was one more ex-employee.
You can't make this up. Like this, you can't write this. This is how good it is. You can't write this.
There was just like yesterday or 2 days ago, there was another ex-employee that came out. Do you want to explain the situation, Boziak?
Is this the guy that
created the obstacle course?
Okay, so he wasn't actually an employee. It was a younger black kid. And I don't know why that's important, but he is. And he came out and he said that Mrbeast flew him out there for a few days to interview. And they put him in a think tank group, and they were like, okay, well, we need to come up with all these ideas, show us what you got, pretty much, pitch us your ideas for the next 2 or 3 episodes or whatever like that. And I think they gave him a thumbnail and a title to a video that hadn't been created yet. And they were like, create a video for this thumbnail and this title. That's their creative process, apparently, behind the scenes. And apparently, I didn't know this, but it's
ass backwards.
I know,
right?
but I've heard that from quite a few people. That's how they make all their YouTube videos. Before they even make the video, they'll make a thumbnail and they'll make a title, and then they'll build the video from the thumbnail and from the title, because those two components are so important on YouTube, because it's basically a search engine.
I mean, it's obviously working for them.
Yeah. So they gave him a thumbnail, they gave him a title. He came up with this whole idea about this Mario Brothers obstacle course that was suspended in the sky with these things swinging back and forth where they got to go. And then they basically sent him home and said, your services are no longer needed. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us. We don't have any room for you at Mrbeast at this moment. Then, I don't know how long after that came out. It was a month, 2 months, 3 months later, a video came out, and it was his idea. It was the exact idea that he had pitched to Mrbeast, that he had wrote out on, and it was his idea, and they took it from him, didn't pay him anything, and used his idea for a video, and made I don't know how many millions of dollars.
It's a scumbag move. Right?
So if he did it once, he's done it multiple times with multiple people. They just haven't. Everybody was too scared to come out and say anything about it.
Right.
The guy who actually competed in this video that he made, this guy named Mac, he was in these challenges, like these $800,000 challenges to win, like big obstacle course, high stakes. But the whole time, he's actually just an employee of Mrbeast. And in the first exposing video, he shows you things like he's looking at the clock to make sure that it runs down to the last second, things like that. And then he loses. You feel sympathetic for him. Like there's all this pressure when really he was hired by Mrbeast. He moved out there. Like he's on salary. He's fine. And
that's another thing the Dogpack 404 videos expose, is that all those timers are fake. Like all those video shots of those timers ticking down, and because it creates the urgency of the video, and that's all a part of the whole formula, which is the Mrbeast perpetual ball of bullshit.
The mistreatment, we're going over that, which I think that kind of goes with the Mrbeast games, like the Amazon game that's going on.
Right. So there's been rumors. He's got something cooking with Amazon. It's called Beast Games, which is basically they're taking his YouTube show and putting it on Amazon and creating a show around it where contestants have to compete in either obstacle courses or challenges and for a cash prize. I'm assuming. Yeah. I mean, obviously it hasn't been released yet, so I don't know. But there's been reports of unsafe working conditions. Whatever hospital was in the area that they were filming in said there's people constantly coming in with broken bones and fractures and lacerations and dehydration, seizures because apparently Mrbeast isn't giving them their medication when they need it. There was one dude who needed insulin, and there was like 24 hours past when he was supposed to get it, and he had some kind of medical issue because they weren't giving him his insulin. He said Mrbeast, when they weren't feeding them proper meals, like they were feeding them like
he was feeding them chocolate bars.
Mrbeast chocolate bars. They were just giving them Feastables, the chocolate bars for meals, and like they said when they did get a meal, it'd be like a styrofoam thing, and it'd be cold, and it'd be like a little scoop of like cold eggs and like some oatmeal or something like that, like just horrible.
Yeah.
Prison food. Yeah. They feed them like prisoners. So there's all these accounts of misconduct. People not being treated right, the medication, the feeding, the injuries, all that, and that's all surrounding this Amazon thing that's coming out. But he's got all this other controversy that's all hitting right now at the same time, and the Amazon shit hasn't even dropped yet. And Amazon has apparently invested
$100
million into this operation.
The whole deal why he went with Amazon is because him and his team were supposed to have full creative control to do whatever they want. And
no oversight.
I actually listened to a video today.
No OSHA.
Or someone who said they kind of have like a source saying like that right now is kind of being retracted, and they're bringing in professional game show people because like all things that have been going on, like there was rumors saying like the events, some of the events were like physical, and like the big strong males are just like dragging like females, weak people, just like overpowering these people in these challenges. That's kind of an ongoing thing because I don't think Mrbeast Games is done yet. It's like it's still going on.
It has been canceled. I mean, we're still. I mean, like we're in the midst of everything right now. Like there hasn't been a conclusion to any of this. Like things are still coming out. Accusations are still being made. So it's like who knows? I mean, who knows if Amazon even wants to because there's two ways to look at it. Either Amazon puts it out and it's going to get the views because people want to, you know, no press is bad press kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Mrbeast's videos are still getting 35 million views, 40 million views a video.
Hundreds of millions.
Yeah,
Hundreds of millions of views.
Yeah, people don't. I was gonna say people don't care as far as having like stuff stolen from you, ideas stolen from you. I at one point I had a story that I had written stolen from me, and I went to a lawyer and I was like, listen, bro, this is what happened. I can prove this. I can prove that. And ultimately, we ended up suing, but he was like, well, do you expect to work in this industry? I'm like, yeah, I'm hoping to make a living doing this. I was still in the halfway house. And he goes, well, do you really want to be known as the guy that goes around suing people? And I said, I'd rather be the guy that goes around suing people than the guy that's known can get consistently ripped off and will do nothing about it. And he was like, yeah, but Hollywood, they remember that stuff and they don't want to deal with you. I'm like, well, if that's what's happened, I'll do something else. But you're not going to keep stealing from me, and it's okay. So, so these guys that are giving ideas, like they're hoping to make a career of it, so they don't say anything, because that's the Harvey Weinstein thing. That's why a lot of those actresses didn't come out and say anything. Why? Because I'm going to stay in this business.
I was going to mention earlier, that's how Jennifer Lawrence apparently got the Hunger Games movies, was sleeping with Harvey Weinstein. That came out.
So it worked out for her.
It did, yeah. She's a big star now. Look at her.
Yeah, good for her.
Yeah, the Jake guy who just came out, he said he was silent for so long because he doesn't want to hurt his reputation, because he never knows when he might get called back and a chance or an opportunity
can you imagine? That's just...
Yeah, you let somebody do you like that. Yeah, it's like, I better not say nothing because I can come back in the future and make a little money.
And be abused again.
Yeah. So,
dude, money's the root of all evil, man.
In the midst of all this, like the original Dog Pack guy who made the exposés is receiving NDAs, or not NDAs, cease and desist.
Yeah.
He got 2 cease and desist letters from 2 different law firms. I believe his response to the NDAs was, I'm not cease and desist. You can cease and desist these nuts.
Yeah.
I'm not stopping anything is basically what he said.
Well, the problem is that, you can be right, absolutely 100% right. And if the other person has more money, they'll just grind you down.
Yeah.
Like you can't fight. And
they'll drag you.
I can't fight a 300-man law firm with what?
I'll just show up to court with no lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah. Just drum the prices. I'll just drum that law bill up on you. Yeah. I'll write my motions in green crayon.
Yep.
Not right, Your Honor.
Yep.
Yeah. But most people, they just get terrified, right? Like, he's going to get a huge judgment against me.
And there was something else with these. There was something else with this NDA situation with Mrbeast. Like the NDA situation with him, apparently is absolutely insane. Like people are terrified because of the NDAs.
Yeah, a lot of people are texting this guy like anonymously.
Right. Dog Pack guy.
Like, hey, like, this is what's going on, or this, I experienced this, but they don't want to come out publicly. Pretty much everything is kind of hearsay at this point with pretty much everything we've been covering. But one of the things was people are saying that Mrbeast is also hiring, or the Beast Company is hiring private investigators to try to dig up dirt on the people that were exposing.
So wrong.
To try and attack their character. Like, oh, this guy, he's on drugs, he's depressed, he's this, he's that. Yeah.
That's just like,
that's crazy.
That's the worst. That's just that's a bad move.
Dude, you're digging. I think everything he's done is just making things worse for himself.
Right.
Everything he's done has been wrong since the very beginning. The going back and the deleting comments and deleting parts of the videos, the NDA,
the cover up.
The cover up is almost a giant scandal in itself. Never mind everything that's happened.
Right.
Never mind that. It's obvious that there's a cover up going on, and even that by itself is bad.
Apparently, there was a company leaked email. Like they're going across like all new training and all this kind of stuff. It's like a big cover letter breaking down all this new stuff.
Was leaked.
Yeah.
Was leaked.
Yeah. So people are saying like they purposely leaked it. Oh, hey, like we're trying to,
because it says, oh, we need to hire diversity. They're going to hire a diversity staff to get everybody trained in diversity, and they're going to hire an HR team to heavily to better scrutinize employees in the future for their backgrounds, and we're going to do all this kind of training. And it was like, basically, this is what we're doing because we know we're in the wrong. It got leaked, but this is, Yeah.
We're actively trying to clean up our act.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
There were, this was before that, there was company policy that was leaked, like a, handbook or whatever. And there was 2 things that were kind of noted in it.
No doesn't mean no.
Yeah, no doesn't mean no. Like when they're trying to find a place to film or they're trying to get something done for Mrbeast, like if the manager says no, like try to find an employee that knows Mr.
One of the
Beast.
examples was given was like if you say, for instance, we need a dollar store to buy every single item in the entire store, and the manager keeps telling you no, well then you need to find another manager, or you need to find an employee who has children who are fans of Mrbeast, and like like no doesn't mean no, like you have to exhaust all of your options.
And another thing in the handbook was a part where it's about taking accountability. Like, hey, if you mess up, like it's okay. Like just take accountability and let's learn from that mistake and not make it again. And people are saying like, they're not following their own policy, like on this biggest thing. Like there was a big controversy. Now, obviously these guys are on 2 different levels, but this guy named Sketch had blown up just this last year. He's like a streamer, plays video games and things like that. And turns out like 2 or 3 years ago, he was going through some substance abuse and stuff, and he was like had a homosexual OnlyFans. Like no one knew about this. And like everybody's wondering what's he gonna say.
That was some substance abuse issues.
He just gets on a live stream and he's just like, I did not have sexual relations with that woman or something. And he's like, actually, that was me. And he just basically came out and was just like, hey, this is what I was at. This was the situation. Like, that's not who I am anymore. And just kind of like did a genuine, heartfelt thing.
Like, I wasn't gay. That was substance abuse.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows the whole situation with all that? But he basically, something like that, people just cancel him, write him off. Like, oh, dude, this dude's just insane. But he did that and, like, I mean, just kind of smooth sailing. Like, a lot of people have, like, gained more respect.
Because he came out and he owned up to it right away.
He's almost, Mrbeast is almost, I guess he's so big and there's so many different factors that he maybe can't do that legally.
Well, because there'll be litigation.
Yeah, there's so many
people know he's got money. They're going to sue him. If he admits to any wrongdoing, you open yourself up to litigation. No,
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
I don't know. Maybe
because you just admitted that you were wrong on video. So now,
right? But you're making yourself look.
You're just
Well, I mean, you're making yourself look. Well, there's ways to come out and say something that's written appropriately. There were mistakes that were made. Blah 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 blah. That's it. But then to actively start scrubbing everything, that's where it starts looking bad. Like say, look, we made some mistakes. We've done this. There have been times that we had budget crunches, and we faked this, or that things weren't working out, and I was under a lot of pressure, and I did this and I did that, and that was a mistake. Like faking the games and stuff like that. Like you're not going to get sued. There's tons of stuff that you're not going to get sued. If you do get sued, okay, so it's probably better to get sued than have your views drop down to or drop dramatically. Like better to come out.
Right. I mean, he's got to have a legal team. Oh, yeah. And he's got to run everything past
legal. You think
legal.
he'd have an HR team if he could have a legal team.
Yeah, it's true.
You'd need to save more money if he started with an HR team instead of the legal team.
Yeah, that's true. I think his mom probably wasn't a good idea for HR in the beginning.
Yeah, it's like at what point, do you transition from the YouTuber to an actual, hey, we got an actual business.
With all this, if there's millions of dollars being made, as soon as the first million's made, that's when you start making smart decisions.
Right. Yeah. Hiring your friends and family to make up your entire organization is a mistake.
Big mistake. Yeah.
So with all the information given, like, do you think anything will happen criminally?
I personally don't think so.
No. Look, to me, the Logan Paul thing, like, he was actively running a scam. Like that whole crypto zoo.
Yeah, he's still laughing, making money on YouTube.
Yeah. He's not paying anybody back. He's not owning up to anything. Basically, I took your money, go f yourself.
Now poor CoffeeZilla is about to go bankrupt and lose his channel.
Right.
So
yeah, he's at like. The problem is that the guy with the most money, wins. Like you can just be you can act like if you have enough money, you can be a complete jackass and just just beat everyone else with just throwing money at the problem and attorneys. And that's unfortunately that's the way it is. That happens a ton in the justice system, and it happens civilly too.
Yeah,
Mrbeast isn't even going to own up to it.
Yeah, he's just going to continue putting out videos. He's going to continue sending out cease and desist letters. He's going to continue just to sue people. He's going to continue to delete videos and do cover-ups and just continue on like everything is all fine and peachy. Because what other option does he have?
Right. Well,
because if he comes out and he admits to it, I mean, we're talking about YouTube's golden boy here.
Well, yeah. So what he's
it'll be
hoping
the end.
for,
It'll be the end of his career.
I mean, time. Time heals all wounds, right? Like the further away this fiasco gets from him, the better off. Then it'll be that thing that happened a few years ago.
Ignore and deny, ignore and deny, ignore and deny, and we're just going to keep ignoring it and denying it and send our legal team out, and hopefully, like you said, people will just forget about it. The YouTube algorithm will stop promoting these videos, and it'll just be business as usual.
How do you think Mrbeast is feeling? Because this is a guy who's like since 13 is like
I think he's shitting his pants.
On the probably somewhat on the spectrum where he is hyper focused. This is his only
he's definitely
goal
autistic. He's definitely autism.
Strictly do YouTube, become the best YouTuber.
I think it's one of two things. I think either at this point, because of all the money and the fame, and he's just surrounded by people that suck on his asshole all day and just tell him everything he wants to hear. I think that either it's he's so cocky, he's just like NDA or legal team, make a video, whatever, I'm the man. Or he's pooping in his panties and he's making all the bad decisions and he's freaking out right now, which I think I would love for that to be true. I would love, you know what I mean? That he's just behind closed doors right now, pulling his hair out. But honestly, I don't really think so. I think he's just that cocky and confident. Because he's surrounded by yes men and he's surrounded by yes people, and maybe he doesn't even realize how bad the situation is.
Yeah, that's always a problem. Surrounding yourself by people that do nothing but agree with you. That's it just always goes bad. So you have to have people around you every once in a while that tell you you're a dick and tell you that's a bad idea. Even if you don't listen to it, you at least have to be able to trust the people that are around you that help you. Because otherwise you become delusional and you're living in a fantasy world, and then when the carpet gets yanked out from underneath you, you don't even see it coming. Hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Also, if you want the uncensored version of this, we're going to put the uncensored version on Patreon. My Patreon account is $10 a month. It does help Colby and I make videos just like this. If you like the video, please share it. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, leave us a comment. Thank you very much. See ya.